Okay, so you've just picked up the guitar and you're super stoked to get rocking and rolling with reading tablature. Well, I'm Eddie with Guitar Mastery Method. We help thousands of guitar players all around the world, just like you, take your guitar playing to the next level. And today I'm going to be giving you some super easy guitar tabs to get you started. By the end of this lesson, you'll be more than equipped to scour the interwebs and immediately start reading the tabs to all your favorite songs. So first of all, what is tablature? Well, tablature, or tab for short, is a simplified version of sheet music that's adapted to the guitar and the bass guitar mostly. So on one hand, you have traditional sheet music, which is kind of like reading a foreign language if you don't already know where the notes are on the clef, much less how to find the notes on the guitar. And on the other hand, you have tablature, which takes the idea of traditional notation, but adapts it so that the lines are actually representing the strings on your guitar and the numbers are representing the numbered frets on your guitar. Much simpler. So the 6 lines you see in the tab represent the 6 strings on your guitar, as I said. And the order of them goes like this. The top string is actually your high E string. And then the bottom string on the tab represents your low E string. So they go in that order. You can think of it like it's a top-down view of your guitar, like you're looking down at your guitar and you can see the low E strings on the bottom and then the high E strings on the top from that view. So that's basically what tab represents, and that is the order of the strings. But when you see numbers on the lines in tab, those numbers represent the numbered frets on your guitar. So let's say, for example, you see a number 3 on the top line of a tab. What that means is you're going to be playing the 3rd fret on the high E string. Let's also say you see a number 2 on the 5th string. So if we're counting down, right, from the top line of the tab, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's the 5th string, or the A string, right? And if we see a number 2 on there, that means play the 2nd fret on the A string. So you can see how the system is much easier to immediately find the notes on the guitar using lines and numbers as opposed to notes and clefs. And in just a few minutes, you're going to be able to interpret virtually every piece of tablature that you can find. So now we're going to be checking out 3 different tabs that I've written up for you that represent the different tabs that you'll find when you're learning all your favorite songs. From notes on the low strings to notes on the high strings to stacked notes that represent playing full chords. This is going to cover a lot of ground and show you exactly what to expect when you're learning all your favorite songs in the future. So tab number 1 is a fun little riff that goes like this. That fun little Blues Brothers inspired riff has lots of zeros in the tab that you'll notice. And those zeros represent playing open strings. So anytime you see a 0 on one of the lines in a tablature, it basically means you play that open string. So the 0 on the bottom string means play the open low E string. So here's how to play the riff. We're going to be playing with our pick the open E string, right? 0, open E. So we're going to be playing it twice. And then with our 3rd finger, we're going to be playing the 3rd fret of the low E string here, which a tip that's going to be super helpful for you for this whole lesson and pretty much forever is corresponding a finger to a fret. So when you're playing in this region of the guitar where you have your first 4 frets, 1, 2, 3, 4, correspond a finger to each fret. All right. So we're only going to be using up to fret number 3, but first fret would be 1st finger, 2nd fret, 2nd finger, 3rd fret, 3rd finger. So your fingers are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Index is 1, middle finger is 2, ring finger is 3, and then pinky is 4. So, but like I said, we're just going to be using 3. So you correspond a finger to a fret. It makes this whole thing much easier. So we have the open E string twice. Then we have our 3rd finger corresponded to the 3rd fret. All right, then we're going to play another open E. Then we're going to play an open A, and then another open E. So far it's, and then finally, we're going to have the 1st fret and the 2nd fret played in succession on the A string. Right, so 1st finger on 1st fret, 2nd finger on 2nd fret. I'm going to play this riff again a few times, but super slow, and I'm going to have the tab on the screen. So if you're feeling ready in this particular moment, I invite you to play it along with me. All right, and I'll count us off. 1, 2, here we go. Now, if you weren't quite ready for that exercise, that's no problem. The beauty of YouTube is you can just rewind the video and rewatch it again. You can even adjust the playback speed if you really, really want to slow it down. But the point of that exercise was to give you a shot at sight reading, basically playing in real time as you're reading the music in front of you. So that's a fun little exercise, and because tablature is actually a much easier way of reading music, that you can consider that like your first step into being able to sight read. So that was tab number 1, which was utilizing the low strings for the riff in the tab. Tab number 2 is a fun little lick that I wrote for you using the high strings, and it goes like this. So remember when I said earlier in the video that corresponding a finger to a fret is going to be super helpful for you? Same rule applies here. So we're going to start with the open B string, then first fret on the B string with our first finger, second fret with our second finger, then open high E, and then second fret on the B again, and then first fret on the B, and then open B. So far we have, it's kind of a pretty sound, I like it. All right, and then we're going to be playing the open G, then first fret, and then second fret, and then open B. So it's, so far it's, okay. So that's musical, right? I wanted to come up with something that was musical, but also super simple to play. And then finally, we're going to play open G again, and then first fret, and then we're going to conclude it with the second fret on the D string. So all together. So let's try the exercise of playing it really slow with the tab on the screen now. So I'm going to count us off again. And this lick does have a little bit of a lead in. So let me demonstrate how it's going to go when I'm counting everything off. 2, 3. So give a little bit of a swing feel to it. So again, if you're not quite ready to play this with me, that's totally okay. You can always come back and do it. But let's try it together. You ready? I'm going to have the tab on the screen. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. And that was tab number 2. Tab number 3 uses full-on chords, the first of which is an E major chord, which would look like this on a tab. So when you see all those notes stacked on top of each other in a tab, that basically means you're playing all those notes at the same time, hence you're playing a full chord. So I'm going to demonstrate the full chord progression in tab number 3, but now that you know what chords look like on tab, you'll be able to follow along and just get the gist of what I'm doing, and then of course we'll break down what the actual chords are. So here we go. So as you noticed in the tab, those big stacks of numbers are repeated, and every time they appear on the tab means I got to play them. Hence why I was playing them, in that particular rhythm, in that order. So the first chord being the E major chord, on the tab it says to play that 4 times. Just really simple downstrokes. And if you're not familiar with the E major chord already, I'll show you how to play it. So you start with your second finger going on the second fret of the A string here, and then your third finger is going to go on the second fret of the D string, your first finger is going to go on the first fret of the G string, and then the rest of the strings are open. So low E is open, B is open, high E is open, and you're just playing all 6 strings. So it's a relatively easy chord to play, so you just play that 4 times in this progression. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now there's 2 other chords in this progression. After we play the E major chord 4 times, we're going to be playing the G chord twice. So here's how to form the G chord. You take your second finger here, and this is kind of where, when you're dealing with chords, you can sort of break the rules when it comes to corresponding a finger to a fret because you only have so many fingers and there's only so many frets. So you start with your second finger here, put it on the third fret of the low E string. Your first finger is going to go on the second fret of the A string, and then you're going to be playing the D and the G strings open, and then your third finger here is going to go on the third fret of the B string, and then your pinky is going to go on the third fret of the high E string, and you're going to play all 6 strings there as well. And you play that 2 times. So you have, starting with 4 times the E major chord, and then two times the G major chord. And then finally, we're going to have the A chord, which is the third chord in this progression, the third and final chord, which looks like this. So it's open A, and then first finger on the second fret of the D string, second finger on the second fret of the G string, and then third finger on the second fret of the B string, and then open E. So this one can be a little challenging. You know, I have like semi-pudgy fingers, so like sometimes it's like you kind of have to really squeeze them in there to play the chord. But what I'd recommend is just focus on using the very tips of your fingers. You don't want to be mashing your fingers or doing anything like that. Literally use the only part of your finger that's necessary in order to produce the sound, right? So that saves you a lot of energy and a lot of frustration. So focus on using the very tips of your fingers, even if you have to kind of angle your hand out a little bit, because you want to make sure that high E can ring out openly. And a fun little thing I like to do when I'm moving from the G chord to the A chord, right? Because we're going to have to move a little bit faster since we're only playing each chord twice. What I'm doing is, after I play the G chord twice, this finger right here, I essentially shift it down. So I keep it there. I keep it on the string. I keep it fretted to kind of keep my hand anchored to the fretboard. And then I basically bring it down 1 fret. And then my second finger is going to sort of like, then the other fingers just sort of fall into place. So second finger, then first finger. So like this. That's kind of the slow motion version of it. But when you get used to that, it's much easier to move between chords than having to just detach your whole hand and then reattach to form the chord. So this just kind of, like I said, keeps your hand anchored to the fretboard, which is really helpful when you're moving, you know, from chord to chord. But if moving between chords is currently a challenge for you, don't you worry. I'm going to put a link in the description box that'll take you to another one of our videos that will show you how to easily shift between chords. It'll really help you out a lot, especially if you need that when you're practicing this third tab. So one more time, I'm going to play the chord progression for you so you know the counts on how many times to strum each chord. And I'll repeat it a couple times because I wanted this to be a repeatable chord progression, not just something you play once and you're done, you know. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now let's take a stab at playing that chord progression together nice and slow with the tab on the screen. I'll count us off. 1, 2, here we go. You can choose to end on the A chord or the E chord. Either way, it resolves nicely in my opinion. So that's tab number 3. And that is your crash course on reading tablature. We've gone over playing and reading notes on the low strings, on the high strings, full-blown chords. Now you're ready to hop on Google and seek out all of your favorite songs. And once you find the tabs for those songs, you're going to recognize how to play them right away. In the description box for this video, you'll find the tabs for everything we just gone over, plus that link I was telling you about on that video that will help you move between chords much easier. So if you like this lesson, be sure to smack that subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon so you can stay up to date on all of our lessons. We got a bunch more coming at you in the very near future. But before I let you go, I gotta tell you that I've also included in the description box a link that'll help you determine your #1 guitar progress killer. So whatever it is that's been holding you back on taking your guitar playing to the next level, this will help you determine exactly what it is and how to tackle it. Well, that wraps it up for this lesson. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. I'm Eddie with Guitar Mastery Method, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.